The alarm bells rang through the massive space station that floated in the dark between stars. Council Leader Dex walked quickly down the long metal hallway. His forearms moved in perfect rhythm as he hurried toward the emergency meeting room. Behind him, other alien leaders followed with worried expressions on their strange faces. The Galactic Council had ruled the galaxy for over 1 million years. In all that time, they had never called an emergency meeting like this. Something was very wrong. Vex entered a huge round room where representatives from dozens of alien species waited. These Centauri sat perfectly still with their blue skin gleaming under the lights. The Corvi tapped their claws on the table in exact mathematical patterns. The Vex hummed low notes that matched the frequency of the station's engines. "Show them the data," Dex said to the wall screen. The screen lit up with images from a small yellow star system at the edge of the galaxy. The humans called it Sol. Most council members had never heard of it before 3 days ago. Now it was all they could think about. "This is Captain Yunho of the human starship Wanderer," said the voice from the recording. The image showed a young man with dark hair sitting in what looked like a control room made from spare parts. "We need to contact Earth immediately. A communication system broke down 2 weeks ago." The aliens in the council room shifted nervously. Breaking down was not supposed to happen. Advanced civilizations built things that lasted forever. Aponte calculated every possible problem before it occurred. "Watch what happens next," Dex said quietly. On the screen, Captain Yunho turned to a woman with long black hair. "Hannah, can you fix our long-range communicator?" Dr. Lee Hannah looked at the broken machine and shook her head. "The quantum matrix is completely fried. We would need 3 months in a proper shipyard to fix this properly." "We don't have 3 months," Yunho said. "Earth needs to know about the mineral deposits we found. Can you build something temporary?" What happened next made every alien in the council room freeze with shock. Dr. Hannah smiled. "Let me see what I can do." The recording showed her gathering random items from around the ship. She took power cables from the food preparation area. She removed filters from the water recycling system. She even took the heating elements from the coffee maker. "This should not work," whispered Kel, the Centauri representative. "The mathematical probability is 0. But on the screen, Dr. Hannah was connecting the parts together. She hummed a strange, human song as she worked. Sometimes she would stop, look at her creation, and then add something completely unrelated. A piece of mirror from the bathroom, wire from a broken game console, even the synthetic diamonds from a decorative ring. "She has no plan," said Vex Prime, his mechanical voice filled with confusion. "She is simply ... trying things." The other council members watched in growing horror. Every advanced species in the galaxy followed strict protocols. When the Centauri built faster-than-light engines, they used formulas that had been perfected over 50,000 years. When the Corvi created artificial intelligence, they followed algorithms that guaranteed success. Humans just tried things and hoped they would work. On the screen, Dr. Hannah finished her impossible machine. It looked like a metal spider made from random junk. Wires hung everywhere. Steam leaked from joints that should not exist. The whole thing shook and made strange noises. "This will either work perfectly or explode," Hannah said cheerfully. Captain Yunho raised an eyebrow. "What are the chances it will explode?" "About 30%, Hannah replied. "To try it, definitely." The aliens watching could not believe what they were seeing. These humans were about to use a machine that had a 30% chance of killing them all. Any rational species would spend years testing and improving the design. First, Dr. Hannah pressed a button on her strange creation. The machine roared to life. Sparks flew everywhere, and a smell like burning metal filled the air. "Blend, impossible." As it seemed, a clear voice came through the speakers. "Earth Control to Wanderer. We have been trying to reach you For weeks, please respond. The communication worked perfectly. Dr. Hannah had just built a faster-than-light transmitter using coffee filters and bathroom mirrors. She had violated 17 different laws of physics that every advanced civilization considered absolute truth. How? Asked, staring at the screen. The recording continued. Captain Yunho was talking to Earth Control, giving his report about the mineral survey. The council members were not listening to his words. They were studying the impossible machine that hummed quietly in the background. Run a full analysis, ordered Dex. The station's computers began scanning the recording. Within minutes, they had identified every part Dr. Hannah had used. The results made no sense. The machine should not work. The parts were incompatible. Power flow violated basic energy conservation laws. The quantum field generators were held together with what appeared to be chewing gum. Yet, it worked perfectly. There must be an error in our analysis, said Cal. Rerun the calculations. The computers ran the analysis 17 more times. The results were always the same. The human machine was impossible, but it worked. Sir, said a young Corfi technician, I have been studying their species database. Humans have only had space travel for 100 years. Most species take 10,000 years to develop reliable, faster-than-light technology. How did they advance so quickly? Mr. Vex Prime. The technician's voice became very quiet. They do not advance, sir. They simply ... try new things. When something fails, they try something else. They call it innovation. Innovation. The word sent chills through the council chamber. Every advanced species had eliminated innovation millions of years ago. Innovation was chaos. Innovation was unpredictable. Innovation led to change, and change was dangerous. The Zentari had perfected their technology and kept it unchanged for 50,000 years. The Corfi followed algorithms that predicted every development for the next million years. The Vex built according to patterns established before most stars were born. Change was the enemy of civilization, yet humans thrived on it. What else do we know about them? Asked Vex. The database files appeared on the screen. Humans came from a world that should have killed them. Their planets suffered ice ages, asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, and massive climate changes. Any sensible species would have gone extinct. Instead, humans adapted. When the ice came, they made fire. When the climate changed, they learned to grow different food. When disasters struck, they rebuilt their cities in new ways. They never gave up. They never stopped trying new solutions. They survived by changing, whispered Cal. Their entire evolution is based on adaptation and innovation. Council chamber fell silent. Finally, Dex spoke the words everyone was thinking. They are dangerous. Extremely dangerous, agreed Vex Prime. If other species learned their methods, our entire galactic order could collapse. Dex looked around the room at the representatives of dozens of worlds. For 1 million years, the galaxy had been stable, predictable, and safe. Every species knew their place. Technology advanced according to schedule. Nothing unexpected ever happened until now. We have no choice, Dex announced. Humanity must be contained before their chaos spreads to other species. Alert the fleet commanders. Prepare for immediate deployment. The council members stood and began filing out of the room. But as they left, each one was thinking the same troubling thought. If humans could build impossible machines from coffee filters and bathroom mirrors, what else might they be capable of? The answer to that question would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Vex Prime stood on the bridge of the massive warship Eternal Order. Behind him, a fleet of 3,000 alien vessels moved through space toward the Sol system. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets. Mission was simple: find the humans and contain them before their dangerous ideas could spread. How long until we reach their system? Asked the Admiral. 17 hours and 43 minutes, replied his navigation officer. Our sensors show normal activity in the Sol system. The humans appear unaware of our approach. Vex Prime nodded. The Galactic Council had decided that humans posed too great a risk to galactic stability. Their unpredictable creativity had to be stopped. It was unfortunate, but necessary, sir, called out the sensor operator. We are receiving the outer edge of their system now. The main screen lit up with images of the human solar system. Vex Prime expected to see busy space lanes filled with human ships. He expected orbital stations around their planets. Expected the chaotic activity that seemed to follow humans everywhere. Instead, he saw nothing. Increase sensor power, he ordered. The sensors swept the system again. Still nothing. No ships, no stations, no radio signals. Even the planet they called Earth appeared cold and lifeless. Are we in the correct location? Asked Vex Prime. Yes, sir. These are definitely the correct coordinates. What the system appears to be completely empty. This made no sense. 3 months ago, human ships had been traveling throughout this region of space. Their planet had billions of inhabitants. They had mining operations on several moons and asteroids. All of that could not simply disappear. Begin a detailed scan of every planet and moon, ordered the Admiral. The humans must be hiding somewhere. Meanwhile, deep inside what appeared to be empty space, Commander Park Jin-woo watched the alien fleet through a small viewing port. Around him, the bridge of the colony ship New Horizon buzzed with quiet activity. Officers monitored the alien movements while trying to keep their own ship completely hidden. How many ships? Asked Park. 3,000, sir, replied Lieutenant Kim So-young. All heavily armed. They mean business. Park nodded grimly. When Earth's long-range sensors had detected the approaching alien fleet, humanity had faced an impossible choice. They could not fight 3,000 advanced warships. They could not run fast enough to escape. Any normal species would have surrendered, but humans were not normal. Status report on Project Kaleidoscope, Park ordered. Dr. Choi Minho looked up from his control station. All systems are working perfectly, sir. The aliens are seeing exactly what we want them to see. Project Kaleidoscope had been the most desperate plan in human history. When the alien fleet was still weeks away, every human ship, station, cane, and settlement had worked together on the biggest magic trick ever attempted. They had turned their entire solar system into a hologram, using modified mining lasers, communication satellites, and even decorative light displays from space stations. The humans had created a massive illusion. The aliens were looking at a perfect projection of an empty solar system, while the real planets and moons were hidden behind layers of false images. But the magic trick was only half of humanity's escape plan. Report on the evacuation, Park requested. All civilian ships have made it through the wormhole network, reported Captain Beek Ji-hoon. The last transport arrived 30 minutes ago. We are the only human vessel remaining in the system. The wormhole network was the other impossible part of the plan. While some humans created the giant hologram, others had built a transportation system that should not have existed. Dr. Lee Hanna, the same engineer who had fixed her ship's communicator with coffee filters, had suggested linking all the gravity generators on human ships, not to create artificial gravity, but to tear holes in space itself. The mathematics said it was impossible. The energy requirements were too high. The gravitational forces would tear the ships apart. Every computer simulation predicted total failure, so the humans tried it. Anyway, they connected gravity generators from mining ships, passenger liners, cargo haulers, and even small personal shuttles. They linked them in a pattern that Dr. Hanna said reminded her of a kaleidoscope she had owned as a child. They powered the entire network with energy borrowed from the hologram projectors. It worked perfectly. The wormholes had opened just long enough for the entire human population to escape to a distant star system. Billions of people, thousands of ships, and entire space stations had vanished through holes in reality that existed for only a few hours. "Sir," called out So Young, "the alien fleet is beginning a more detailed scan. They are focusing on the asteroid belt." Park watched the alien ships spread out across the system. Their sensors were incredibly advanced, much better than anything humans possessed. But they were looking for something that was actually there. The humans were hiding in a pocket dimension, while the wormhole network had evacuated most of humanity. The colony ship, New Horizon, had used a different trick. They had linked their artificial gravity generators to create a small bubble of space that existed alongside normal reality, but remained invisible to outside observers. It was like hiding inside a soap bubble that no one could see or touch. "Long can we maintain this?" asked Park. "The power drain is significant," replied Minho. "We can stay hidden for maybe 6 more hours before our generators overload. That should be enough time." The aliens would search the system, find nothing, and eventually leave. Then the humans could escape through their own wormhole to rejoin the rest of humanity on the bridge of the Eternal Order. Admiral Vex Prime grew more frustrated by the hour. His ships had scanned every planet, moon, and asteroid in the system. They had detected no signs of human activity. No energy signatures, no artificial structures, no life signs. "This is impossible," he muttered. "An entire civilization cannot simply vanish." "Sir," reported the science officer, "I am detecting some unusual quantum fluctuations near the 4th planet. They are very faint, but they do not match natural phenomena. Investigate immediately." A squadron of scout ships moved toward the strange readings. Their sensors probed the area carefully, looking for any sign of human technology. They found nothing but empty space. What they did not realize was that their sensors were passing through the pocket dimension without detecting it. The human ship was less than a kilometer away, but it might as well have been in another galaxy. After 12 hours of searching, Vex Prime finally admitted defeat. "The humans are gone," he announced to his fleet commanders. "They must have detected our approach and evacuated their entire system." "Where could they have gone?" asked one of the commanders. "That is what we must discover. Begin searching all nearby systems." "They cannot have traveled far with their primitive technology." As the alien fleet prepared to leave, Park Jin-woo smiled. On the hidden bridge of the New Horizon, the humans had achieved something that should have been impossible. They had made an entire solar system disappear right in front of 3,000 enemy warships. "Sir," said So Young, "I have been monitoring their communications. The aliens are very confused. They keep saying that what we did violates the fundamental laws of physics." "Maybe it does," replied Park, "but it worked." "What are our orders?" "Now, sir." Park looked out at the alien fleet as it began to move away from the Sol system. Humanity had won this round, but the war was far from over. The aliens would keep searching. Eventually, they might find the hidden human colonies. Humanity needed a new plan, something even more impossible than making a solar system disappear. "Set course for the Kepler system," Park ordered. "It is time to rejoin our people and figure out what we do next." As the New Horizon prepared to leave its hiding place, the crew realized something important. They had not just escaped from the aliens. They had learned that human creativity could overcome seemingly impossible odds. The aliens thought they were hunting a primitive species that would be easy to contain. They had no idea that they were dealing with beings who could turn entire star systems into magic tricks. The real war was just beginning. Captain Choi Minho floated quietly in his small scout ship at the edge of the Vega system. 3 months had passed since humanity's great escape from Sol. Now they lived in secret colonies scattered across distant star systems, hiding from the alien fleets that searched for them everywhere. But hiding was not enough anymore. The humans needed to understand their enemy. "Target confirmed," whispered his pilot, Ensign Han Yujin. "Centauri, research vessel. Just like our intelligence said." Story. The viewing port Minho could see the alien ship. It was beautiful in a cold, mathematical way. Every line was perfectly calculated. Every surface gleamed with precision engineering. It looked like it had been built by machines that never made mistakes. "Any escort ships?" asked Minho. "None." "Detected. The vessel appears to be alone." This was exactly what the human reconnaissance mission had hoped to find. For weeks, they had been tracking isolated alien ships, trying to learn about the civilizations that wanted to destroy them. So far, they had only observed from a distance. "Tay would be different," said Yujin. "I am picking up a distress signal from the Centauri ship. Their engines appear to be failing." Minho studied the readings on his scanner. The alien vessel was drifting helplessly, its power systems fluctuating wildly. Any decent person would offer assistance to ships in trouble, but these were the same aliens who wanted to wipe out humanity. "What are your orders, sir?" asked Yu-Jin. Minho thought for a long moment. This could be a trap. The aliens might be pretending to need help to lure human ships into the open, but it could also be an opportunity to study alien technology up close. "We help them," Minho decided. "Stay ready to run if this goes bad." The human scout ship approached the damaged Centauri vessel carefully. As they got closer, Minho could see that the distress signal was real. Sections of the alien ship's hull were blackened by some kind of explosion. Masphere was leaking from several holes. "This is Captain Choi Minho of the human ship Explorer." He broadcast on standard frequencies. "We received your distress signal. Do you need assistance?" The response came immediately. "Human vessel. This is Science Leader Kel of the research ship Truth Seeker. We are experiencing critical system failures. Our crew is in danger." Had never heard an alien sound frightened before. In all the recordings from the Galactic Council, the alien spoke with cold confidence. But Kel's voice carried real fear. "Permission to come aboard and assess the damage," requested Minho. There was a long pause. Finally, Kel replied, "Permission granted. We have no choice." 20 minutes later, Minho and 2 human engineers were floating through the airlock of the alien ship. The corridors inside were just as perfectly designed as the exterior. But now they were filled with smoke and the smell of burned electronics. Science Leader Kel met them at the airlock. He was tall and thin, with blue skin that seemed to glow under the ship's lights. His large eyes stared at the humans with a mixture of curiosity and fear. "You came," Kel said simply. "Even though we are enemies." "You needed help," replied Minho. "That is more important than politics." This statement seemed to confuse the alien scientist. He led the humans through the damaged ship, explaining what had happened. "We were conducting routine experiments on quantum field manipulation. The calculations were perfect. Every variable was accounted for, but the equipment exploded anyway." Engineer Lee Hanna, who had joined the rescue mission, examined the damaged machinery. "I can see the problem," she said after a few minutes. "Your quantum matrix is overloaded because you are trying to force it to work in only one specific way." "That is how quantum matrices function," Kel replied. "The mathematical formulas require precise implementation." Hannah shook her head. "Mathematics is just one way to solve problems. Sometimes you need to try different approaches." What happened next changed the course of galactic history. Hannah began rebuilding parts of the alien machine, but she did not follow the original design. Instead, she connected components in ways that made no mathematical sense. She used spare parts from the human ship. She even took decorative crystals from the alien crew quarters and incorporated them into the quantum field generator. This should not work, Kel protested. You are violating basic principles of quantum mechanics. Maybe, said Hannah cheerfully. But let's see what happens. She activated her improvised repair. The machine hummed to life, running more smoothly than it ever had before. The overload problems disappeared completely. Kel stared at the impossible device with growing amazement. How did you know that would work? I didn't, Hannah admitted. I just tried different things until something worked. We call it experimentation. Over the next several hours, as the human engineers helped repair the Centauri ship, something extraordinary happened. Kel began asking questions that had no predetermined answers. What if we try connecting the power couplers in a different pattern? He wondered aloud. What if we used the cooling system to also generate additional power? He suggested. What if the original designers were wrong about the optimal configuration? He asked. Each question led to new experiments. Each experiment produced unexpected results. For the first time in his very long life, Kel was learning through trial and error instead of following ancient formulas. The other Centauri crew members watched in fascination as their science leader began thinking in completely new ways. Soon they were asking their own questions and suggesting their own experiments. This is remarkable, said Kel as he successfully modified a piece of equipment using methods he had invented just hours earlier. For 50,000 years, my people have used the same technologies in the same ways. We never considered that there might be better approaches. Why not? Asked Minho. Because change is dangerous, Kel replied. Change leads to chaos. Chaos leads to failure. Better to use methods that are proven to work. But if you never try new things, said Hannah, how do you improve? This question hit Kel like a physical blow. Improvement. The concept was almost foreign to Centauri's thinking. They had achieved technological perfection 50,000 years ago. Why would they need to improve? Looking at the human modifications to his ship, Kel could see clear improvements everywhere. Systems that worked better, designs that were more efficient, solutions that were simpler and more elegant than anything in the Centauri technical databases. We must report this to the council, said one of Kel's subordinates. The humans have shared forbidden knowledge with us. No, said Kel firmly. This knowledge is not forbidden. It is necessary. As the human rescue team prepared to leave the repaired Centauri ship, Kel made a request that surprised everyone. May I send some of my crew with you? Kay asked. I want them to learn more about human methods. Minho considered this carefully. Bringing aliens to the secret human colonies was dangerous. But these aliens had been exposed to human creativity. They were already changing. 3 volunteers, he agreed. But they must understand that they cannot reveal our location to anyone. They will not, promised Kel. We are scientists. We value knowledge above politics. As the human ship departed with 3 Centauri volunteers aboard, none of them realized what they had just started. As the creative spark had jumped from humans, 2 aliens for the first time. Within days, the Centauri volunteers were asking questions that had never been asked before. They were experimenting with technologies that had remained unchanged for millennia. They were thinking creatively, and creativity, like a virus, began to spread. Back at Centauri research stations across the galaxy, scientists started receiving reports of impossible innovations. Quantum drives that worked better than the mathematical models predicted. Communication systems that functioned in ways that violated established theory. Energy generators that produced more power than should be possible. The Centauri High Command ordered investigations into these anomalies, but the investigators became infected with curiosity as well. Instead of stopping the innovations, they began asking their own questions. Within weeks, creative thinking had spread to dozens of Centauri research facilities. Scientists who had followed the same procedures for centuries suddenly began experimenting with new approaches. The infection was spreading beyond just The Zentari. Corfi engineers who worked alongside infected Zentari began asking creative questions. Vex technicians started improvising solutions instead of following standard protocols at the Galactic Council headquarters. Emergency alarms began ringing again. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy describing impossible innovations in MPAs. In DECT, I just know it's gonna be a really good day because I just know it's gonna start out with by going to Starbucks. Emergency alarms / emergency alarms. Memory. Well, remorts. Becancing. Where's emerds? Wimilling. Wimelis. 1. Sav. 1 slaz. 1. 1. 1. Where. 1. 1. Well. 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 Where. Well. Well. As. Have. As. As. An. I'd. Gicken. We'd Unauthorized experiments. Council leader, they've studied the reports with growing horror. The human creative virus was spreading faster than they had feared. Entire species were beginning to think in dangerous new ways. How many systems are affected? He asked. 47 and growing, replied his aide. The infection appears to spread through direct contact with creative thinking. K's realized that containing humanity was no longer enough. K would have to purge the creative virus from every infected population in the galaxy. The alternative was the complete collapse of galactic civilization. Alert all fleet commanders, he ordered. Q. Prepare for total war. The largest fleet in galactic history moved through space like a storm of metal and fire. 10,000 warships from dozens of alien species traveled together with one purpose: destroy every trace of human creativity before it could spread further. Admiral Vex Prime commanded the massive fleet from his flagship, the Final Solution. Around him, his officers monitored reports from across the galaxy. The news grew worse each day. Status report, ordered the Admiral. 17 more systems have reported unauthorized innovations in the past 24 hours, replied his intelligence officer. The creative infection is spreading faster than our models predicted. Vex Prime studied the holographic map that showed infected systems glowing red across the galaxy. What had started as a few isolated cases was now a growing plague of dangerous thinking. What is the status of our primary targets? He asked. We have located 3 human colony systems. All are heavily defended, but their technology should be no match for our fleet. The Admiral nodded. The plan was simple. Destroy the human colonies first, then hunt down every infected alien population and purge the creativity virus from their minds. It would take years, but galactic order would be restored. Sir, called out the communications officer. We are receiving a transmission from the human colony in the Kepler system. Put it on screen. The main display showed a young human woman with short black hair sitting in what appeared to be a command center. Behind her, other humans worked at stations that looked like they had been built from spare parts and imagination. This is Commander Song Dayun of the Human Defense Force, she said calmly. I am speaking to Admiral Vex Prime and the Galactic Council Fleet. Vex Prime was surprised. How did the humans know his name? How did they know about the fleet's approach? Ships were still 3 days away from the Kepler system. We know you are coming to destroy us, Song continued. We know you believe human creativity is a threat to your civilization. We want to offer you a different solution. They want to surrender, said the intelligence officer. This is better than expected. But Song was not finished talking. We challenge you to prove that your way is better than ours. Give us 1 week to prepare our defenses. Then attack us with everything you have. If you can defeat us, we will surrender peacefully. If we win, you will leave us alone. The message ended. Vex Prime stared at the blank screen in confusion. The humans wanted to fight the entire Galactic Council fleet with their small colony. It was impossible. It was insane. It was exactly the kind of creative thinking that made humans so dangerous. "Sir, should we accept their challenge?" asked his tactical officer. Vex Prime considered the options. The fleet could attack immediately and crush the human colony in minutes. But that would make them look like monsters who destroyed defenseless populations. Better to accept the challenge and show the galaxy that human creativity was no match for superior firepower. Send a reply, he decided. "We accept their challenge. 1 week from today, we will attack. If they survive, we will consider negotiations." What the Admiral did not know was that the humans had already been preparing for this battle for months. In secret facilities throughout the Kepler system, human engineers had been building weapons that should not exist. Engineer Baek Ji-hoon stood in the main construction bay of the asteroid station called Workshop 1. Around him, teams of humans and infected aliens worked together on projects that would have been impossible just months earlier. "Status report on the gravity hammers," he called out. "First prototype is ready for testing," replied Dr. Kim So-young. "The mathematics say it should not work, but our simulations show it might be effective." Keza, the gravity hammer, was one of many impossible weapons the humans had designed. It used modified mining equipment to create focused gravitational fields that could crush enemy ships from a distance. The power requirements were enormous, but the humans had solved that problem by connecting solar collectors in patterns inspired by flower petals. "What about the shield generators?" Ji-hoon. "Ready and operational," reported Captain Park Jin-woo. "We are using solar wind as a power source, just like you suggested." The shield generators were even more impossible than the gravity hammers. They created protective barriers by weaving solar wind particles into dense energy fields. Every alien scientist who had studied the design declared it physically impossible, but it worked perfectly. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Han Yu-jin, "the music drives are ready for installation." The music drives were the strangest human invention yet. They powered faster than light engines using crystallized sound frequencies. The idea had come from a human child who wondered if music could be turned into fuel. Adult human scientists had spent weeks figuring out how to make the child's impossible idea work. Now, human ships could travel faster than light using power generated from symphonies and rock songs. "Excellent," said Ji-hoon. "Begin installing. The music drives on all defensive ships. Make sure each ship has a different musical genre for maximum efficiency." As the humans prepared their impossible defenses, the infected aliens throughout the galaxy began helping in their own ways. Centauri scientists shared new discoveries about quantum mechanics. Corfi engineers provided improved computer algorithms. Even some Vex technicians secretly transmitted better weapons designs. The creative virus had created an underground network of innovation that spanned the entire galaxy. Artist Han Yu-jin, who had been assigned to the propaganda division, was working on humanity's most powerful weapon of all. She had convinced the human leadership to broadcast human culture across the galaxy during the coming battle. "Are you sure this will work?" asked Commander Song as she reviewed Yu-jin's plan. "Art and music have always been humanity's greatest achievements," Yu-jin replied. "If we can show other species what they are missing, they might choose creativity over stagnation." Song nodded. The plan was risky, but it was also brilliant. While the human fleet fought the aliens with impossible weapons, human culture would fight for the hearts and minds of every being in the galaxy. The week of preparation passed quickly. On the day of the battle, Admiral Vex Prim led his 10,000 ships into the Kepler system, confident of easy victory. Instead, he found nightmare. The human defenses made no sense. Their ships attacked from impossible angles, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Their weapons violated every known law of physics. Gravity hammers crushed entire squadrons of alien ships. Shield generators deflected attacks that should have been unstoppable. How are they doing this? Demanded Vex Prime as his flagship shook under human fire. Unknown, sir, replied his tactical officer. Their weapons should not function. Their tactics have no logical pattern. It is as if they are making up new strategies during a battle. That was exactly what the humans were doing. Each human ship captain was improvising their own fighting style, creating chaos that the aliens could not predict or counter. But the real shock came when the human cultural broadcasts began. Across the galaxy, alien populations heard human music for the first time. Key, they saw human art. They experienced human stories about hope, love, key, and the courage to try impossible things. The effect was immediate and devastating. On world after world, aliens began to dream. They began to wonder. They began to create. Centauri poets wrote their first verses in 50,000 years. Corphi musicians composed songs that had no mathematical structure. Vex artists created sculptures that served no logical purpose except to be beautiful. The creative virus spread faster than ever before. It's carried by human culture to every corner of the galaxy. In the middle of the battle, something unprecedented happened. Ships from the Galactic Council fleet began switching sides. Captains who had been exposed to human creativity refused to fight against the beings who had given them the gift of imagination. Sir, reported Vex Prime's communications officer, we are receiving surrender requests from our own ships. Okay? They are asking to join the human forces. The Admiral watched in horror as his mighty fleet began to fall apart, not from enemy fire, but from the power of human creativity to change minds and hearts. The battle that was supposed to end human influence had instead spread throughout the galaxy. For the first time in his very long life, Admiral Vex Prime began to wonder if the Galactic Council might be wrong about everything. The great chamber of the Galactic Council had never seen anything like this before. For the first time in 1,000,000 years, the meeting was not following any predetermined agenda. Representatives from hundreds of worlds argued, debated, and asked questions that had no prepared answers. Council leader Dex stood at the center of the chaos, trying to maintain order. Half of his fleet had joined the humans. Entire star systems had declared independence from Council authority. The galaxy was changing faster than anyone could control. Order. Dex shouted over the noise. We must have order. But order was exactly what the galaxy no longer wanted. Dr. Lim Hyunsuk walked calmly through the massive doors of the council chamber. Behind her came a small group of humans and infected aliens who had requested to speak to the council. The room fell silent as they approached the central platform. Honored representatives, Hyunsuk began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. I am Dr. Lim Hyunsuk, speaking for humanity and our allies. We have come to offer you a choice. Nex activated his communication device. Humans are not permitted to address this council. You are criminals who have infected our civilization with dangerous ideas. What ideas? Asked Hyunsuk. The idea that beings should be allowed to think freely. The idea that innovation can improve life. The idea that asking questions is not a crime. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many of the alien representatives had been secretly wondering the same things. You have disrupted the natural order, Dex declared. For 1,000,000 years, the galaxy has been stable and peaceful. Your creativity threatens to destroy everything we have built. Hyunsuk nodded thoughtfully. You are right that we have disrupted your order. But let me ask you something. In 1,000,000 years of stability, what have your civilizations accomplished? A question hung in the air like a challenge. Dex opened his mouth to answer, then closed it again. The truth was uncomfortable. In 1,000,000 years, the galactic civilizations had accomplished almost nothing new. We have maintained peace, Dex said finally. You have maintained stagnation, replied Hyanzuk. Do you know what we discovered when we studied your ancient databases? This galaxy is full of ruins from dead civilizations. Hundreds of species that reached technological perfection and then simply ... stopped. She gestured to a holographic display that appeared above the chamber. It showed archaeological sites across the galaxy where advanced civilizations had once thrived. Every one of these species followed the same path you are following now, Hyansk continued. They achieved stability. They eliminated change. Stopped asking questions. And then they died out, not from war or disaster, but from simply losing the will to grow. The alien representatives stared at the display in growing horror. The pattern was clear. Species after species had reached the same endpoint, technological perfection followed by gradual extinction. You are lying, said Thex, but his voice lacked conviction. We can prove it, said science leader Kel, stepping forward from Hyanzuk's group. The Zentari scientist had been one of the first aliens infected with creativity. I have spent months studying these ruins with human archaeologists. The evidence is overwhelming. Kel activated his own display, showing detailed analyses of the dead civilizations. Pre-extinct species shows the same characteristics in their final millennia. No new art, no technological innovation, no expansion to new worlds. They achieved perfection and then slowly faded away. But why? Asked a Corfi representative. If they had achieved perfection, why did they die? Because perfection is death, answered Dr. Kim Soyoung, another human scientist. Life requires growth, change, adaptation. When you stop evolving, you start dying. The chamber erupted in confused voices as representatives tried to process this information. Everything they had believed about civilization was being challenged. What do you propose? Asked a Vex council member. That we abandon millions of years of progress and embrace chaos. We propose that you embrace growth, replied Hyanzuk. Creativity is not chaos, it is controlled change. 'Tis the ability to find new solutions when old ones stop working. And if we refuse, asked Hyanzuk's expression became sad. Then you will follow the same path as all the others. You will maintain your perfect stability until the galaxy forgets you ever existed. The debate that followed lasted for 3 days. Representatives argued about the nature of civilization, the value of stability, and the risks of change. But gradually, a new consensus began to emerge. The younger representatives, especially those who had been exposed to human culture, spoke passionately about the need for growth and innovation. The older council members defended tradition, but found their arguments increasingly hollow. The turning point came when Admiral Vex Prime himself addressed the council. I have spent my entire existence maintaining galactic order, he said. I believed that stability was the highest good. But I have seen what human creativity can accomplish in just a few months. They built impossible weapons, created new forms of art, and solved problems we thought were unsolvable. He paused, looking around the chamber at his fellow council members. For the first time in my very long life, I want to ask a question that has no predetermined answer, he continued. What if we are wrong about everything? That simple question shattered the last resistance to change. If Admiral Vex Prime, the most rigid enforcer of galactic law, could embrace uncertainty, then anyone could. Council Leader Dex stood quietly for a long moment, feeling the weight of 1 million years of tradition pressing down on him. Then, slowly, he asked the question that would change everything. Dr. Hyanzuk, what would you have us do? Hyanzuk smiled. Learn to ask questions. Try new things. Make mistakes and learn from them. Most importantly, stop being afraid of change. How do we begin? Asked Dex. You already have, replied Hyanzuk. You asked a question you did not know the answer to. That is the first step toward creativity. Okay. New galactic order that emerged from those 3 days of debate was unlike anything that had existed before. The rigid hierarchy of the council was replaced by a loose federation of independent worlds. Species were encouraged to experiment with new technologies and forms of government. Art and music flourished throughout the galaxy. Some worlds chose to maintain their traditional ways, and that was accepted too. Creativity included the freedom to choose stability if that was what a species truly wanted. Captain Song Dayun stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Curiosity 5 years later. Around her, a mixed crew of humans and aliens worked together to explore regions of space that had been considered impossible to reach. Captain called out her navigator, a young Centauri named Kel, who had learned to improvise course corrections instead of following predetermined flight paths. "We are approaching the edge of known space." "Excellent," replied Song. "Let's see what is out there." The ship's sensors revealed something extraordinary. Massive structure floating in the void between galaxies. It was clearly artificial, but built using principles that no known species understood. "Appears to be some kind of gateway," reported the science officer, a Corfi who had learned to make intuitive leaps instead of relying only on data. "A gateway to where?" asked Song. "Unknown, Captain. But it seems to be responding to our presence." Song smiled. A few years ago, discovering something completely unknown would have terrified the galaxy's leaders. They would have spent decades studying it from a safe distance before making any decisions. Now, the response was different. "Prepare an exploration team," Song ordered. "Let's find out what is on the other side." As the Curiosity approached the mysterious gateway, Song made the final entry in her captain's log. "The aliens no longer fear human creativity. They have learned to fear stagnation instead. The species that should not exist has taught the galaxy how to truly live. Today, we take the next step into the unknown, not because we know what we will find, but because we are no longer afraid to look." The gateway activated, opening a passage to possibilities that none of them could imagine. The ship passed through into a realm where new questions waited to be asked and new answers waited to be discovered. Behind them, the galaxy continued to grow and change, no longer bound by the limits of ancient thinking. Creativity had become the new foundation of civilization, and the future stretched ahead full of infinite potential. The species that should not exist had given the galaxy its greatest gift, the courage to evolve.